Photographers, whether you're new, old, indifferent, whether you've just got your first camera for Christmas, or whether you've got your wife to upgrade it because you've been lovely to her all year, whatever the reasons, I guarantee you at least half of the people listening to this have had some new kit, new camera for Christmas, and you're just desperate to get out there and use it. But what always happens at this time of year is photographers, particularly newbies or those coming back into it, having not been into it since maybe the days of film, they get a bit of kit, they look at it, they stick a memory card in it, run outside, they take some pictures, they come flying back in, they get them on the computer, and everything is a big steaming pile of horse shit. Well, I'm going to talk you through some ways today to get around all that, some really important things you should do, whether you're new to it, whether you just had an upgrade, whatever the reason is for that new shiny bit of kit in your hand. Follow these 5 steps and I guarantee you'll get much better pictures. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to the first episode of 2026 of the Lance Burkitt Encounter. This is episode number 48, if my memory serves me correctly. Today, I'm going to talk you through all the excitement, that big bundle of joy you've just been given for Christmas, because I know a lot of you will have been given a nice shiny new camera for Christmas. Am I right? Yes. So whether it's a brand new camera, whether it's an upgrade, whether you've just started photography, whether you're coming back, whether you've just been out of it for a bit, or whether you've just gone, actually, I'm sick of that bridge camera, I've now got a DSLR or a mirrorless, or whatever it is, you're going from a phone to a DSLR. I'm going to talk you through some of the biggest mistakes newbie or new piece of kit camera photographers make all the time, regardless of experience. In fact, sometimes the more experienced you are, the more arrogant you get, and you end up stood in a field going, what the fuck am I doing? Yeah? So to avoid all that, I'm going to talk you through some 5 steps of kind of, moderate things you can do that aren't so taxing, that aren't so mind-blowing, that aren't so far out there you're going to get fed up after a couple of minutes. They're just easy, simple steps just to ease you into your new bit of kit. But also, I think you might find from an enjoyment, making good pictures, from getting something out of the day that you really wanted. If you follow these steps kind of quite religiously, can't say that word, religiously, I think you will find over a little bit of time that your work starts to get more exciting, more your hit rate's better, and you just enjoy it more. So the biggest thing I see when new photographers particularly, and those photographers who have had the same kit forever. An example, I'm a Canon shooter, always have been, although I do have a Sony, some of the bits, and predominantly a Canon shooter. And when I upgraded from my DSLRs to the R6 about 18 months ago, I made a bit of this fatal mistake and I had to give myself a bit of a kick and go, come on, Lance, you know the score here. What are you doing? Because no matter how used to the interface you are, no matter how good you think you become operating either your phone or your SLR or whatever it is, that new piece of kit you have got in your hand, even if it's the same brand as the one you've always had, I guarantee you, buttons are in a different places. Functions are quite different. It might have new tricks that your old camera didn't have. You might be excited to use them. But like anything new, you can't just rely on your ego and your kind of, self-worth to go, click, oh, it's there. I've done it myself in the past, ended up, stood out, looking to get a picture, can't find the setting I want, and think, fuck me, what am I doing? So the first biggest piece of advice I'm going to give to you is not get on YouTube and watch tutorials, just this one. Not go out there and start wanging things around hoping that you get somewhere, or you'll pick it up or you'll find it, or you can be in the field and you can pick up your phone and find out what's going on. You might not have a signal. The biggest thing, the first thing you should always do when you buy a new camera, particularly a new camera, is dig into the box that it came in and dig out a little thing called an owner's manual or a user manual, or in this case, this little thing here for me. And the reason I say that is because although over the years I've noticed that these things, it looks like a real fake book, doesn't it? Look at all that. But it's in about 65 different languages. So the bit that's useful to me is probably only that bit there, that first bit in English. But what's important is you're looking for function. You're looking for a whole new way of quickly accessing things in your camera that your last camera might not have had. Or you might shoot in a certain style, or you might be desperate to try a new style. But if you've gone to the trouble of getting your camera, getting your memory card, getting your kit, getting your stuff on, it's cold out there, it's either cold, snowing, pissing with rain, or it's freezing, you've driven somewhere, you've walked somewhere, you get there and you go, I don't know where the functions are. So imagine I don't know, you've gone out into the lakes, you've seen a lovely deer or something in the distance, you've got your new camera with your zoom lens, you're all set up and you miss it because you can't remember where the buttons are, or you've not even studied the manual to see where the buttons are. And I noticed with this manual line on the R6, it's not as good as they used to be. The older manuals are in a lot more depth about modes and where things were, and not just how to stick a memory card and a battery in. I mean, it does talk a little bit through simple setups, movie recording, that kind of stuff, but it pretty quickly just fizzles out. So you can go online and download the full operator's manual. But within that, what you're looking for is things that are the attributes that you want to use, particularly for your thing you want to do. So it's no good if you don't know where the burst mode is, for example. It's no good if you don't know where the servo mode is for autofocus. If you're moving, tracking things, cars, motorcycles, deer, humans, you'll quickly find that you've missed the shot because you've fumbled in looking for the bit of kit that you thought, because you've used cameras for years, you knew instinctively where it were. And like I said, when I moved from DSLR canons to mirrorless, everything's massively in a different place, like completely in a different place. Plus, this newer camera has got many more functions on it. Not that I use them, but there are many more functions in there that the SLR didn't have, or the DSLR. So I guess to stop you guys going out in your excitement, wasting loads of time getting ready, getting all togged up in your winter kit and driving miles or walking miles, to only be disappointed because you really haven't got a fucking clue where all the buttons are on this camera, is to study it for a couple of hours first at home. Maybe use your back garden, use your living room, before you even think about going and doing any work, particularly if you've got photo shoots booked in for the new year, either clients or friends or test shoots or whatever it is. Make sure before you arrive in those scenarios that you've read the bloody user manual. And if it's a bit thin on the ground like the R6 one is for me, get online and find that information ahead of time. And it can be something as simple as not knowing where the servo function is, particularly those kind of settings where you need it quickly. Or even if you're not used to using mirrorless and things are displayed on the screen a lot more easily, a lot more readily, are the functions there for you? An example would be, well, where's the white balance? Where's the white balance button? Because some of you, if you go back to my previous podcast, you'll see that I always say, even if you're shooting in RAW, pick the right colour space first anyway. Because there's nothing worse than trolling through your JPEGs later, or even your RAW files, and having to change the bloody colour scape on every single one. So if you're outside and it's cloudy or shady or sunny, how do you change the white balance in camera? Where is it? Because on the SLR, it used to spin a little down on the top. Now it's in the menu. And yes, you can assign all sorts of wondrous buttons to different things, but straight out the case, it's not immediately obvious where it is. And little things like that will stop you being able to produce work that you're happy with when you first run out. Because there's nothing worse, is there? You've got, you know, you've pestered your wife, your kids, your girlfriend, your parents, whatever it is, all year. You've been nice as pie in the room to Christmas. You've been doing all the dishes. You've been over and up. You've done the whole shebang. Make sure you get this little gift. And then you go out and you use it, and your first impression of it is it's shit. And it's not shit. It's just because you haven't prepared yourself to use the camera to its finest degree. You've just come in a bit duff, and you fucked it up, and it's your fault. But you'll blame the camera because that's what photographers doing it. They just blame everything apart from themselves. So you're reading your book, you're finding where all the little quirks on your camera is, where they live. But just as a reminder, and really this is for those of you that are coming into it new, that are new to digital, or maybe you're getting your first full manual, full controllable camera for the first time. Little things to remember. I mean, you could remember that, you should remember these through every shoot you do, but just for now, just for today, let's just pretend. Some of you out there will just be thinking, come on, Lance, this is like teaching to suck eggs. I appreciate that, but the people watching this who have never used a camera before, a full manual camera, and they can be quite intimidating, particularly if you're not 100% sure what things mean, what things do. So I guess I'll just quickly run through the kind of like a checklist of things for you to make sure you've done before you arrive at said photo shoot with no clue what you're doing. And it sounds daft, but the biggest one, I made this error quite often in the intro, in the beginning when I first started doing it, is, are your batteries fully charged? Did you get one kit battery with it? Did that come with it? An example might be you had a Canon DSLR like I did. Battery might have lasted all day. Those LP6 batteries are great, but now you've gone to mirrorless, and the mirrorless cameras use a lot more power because they're powering the screen all day, so you might only get half a day out of that. Have you thought about that? Have you only got one battery with you? Is it fully charged? Have you got two batteries? Have you got some cheap, nondescript spares just in case to give you a couple of hours of more shooting time? Think about that first, because there's nothing worse than looking at your camera going, oh, well, I've got a full day out of that one. This one's newer, battery's bound to be better, consumption won't be good, but if you're going from DSLR to mirrorless, trust me, your shoot time with one battery is a lot less. It's much, much more limited. So have you got enough battery? Let's do that first. Then you're going to switch it on and it'll come in standard mode. So you can do all the things if you want, like setting up your name on it and copyright and all that, but that's not really that important. That's not going to make you get or stop you from getting a picture, is it? You can do all that in your own time. If you want to get out to shoot, you want to practice, first thing you need to be doing is looking in the file menu to make sure you shoot in RAW, at least RAW, perhaps RAW and JPEG, or depending on what camera type you've got, like the new R6 does CR3s, which are kind of like half-size files. I just shoot out of wanting the best quality file, most information I can get. I shoot RAW and JPEG. RAW for the detail, JPEG for the quick preview, post-shoot. So that's what I do. So I know battery's charged, camera set to RAW JPEG. Memory. Have you got enough memory? So you might think, well, I could make do previously with a 16 gig SD card, maybe 90 kbs write speed. Have you considered that your new camera might produce much bigger files? So you can't shoot the same amount of files on the card you've used forever. So have you got yourself a decent memory card to go with it? Is that memory card fast writing? Are you going to be shooting video? Do you need a fast read and write speed? If that's the case, get yourself a decent 64, 128 meg, 200 MBS memory card, because without that, particularly if you're shooting burst and you're chasing birds or anything that's moving, you'll take 6 or 8 shots and then your camera will be buffering, you'll miss the rest, and that will piss you off royally. So have you got enough memory for what you're doing? A lot of new cameras now come with 2 SD slots. Stick 2 cards in there. If you've got 2 128 gig cards, that'll do you for a day, unless you're a trigger happy shoot and hope you get something, then you might need a bit more, but generally speaking you shouldn't be shooting really more than that for a day. So you've got your battery, you've got your basic camera settings, you've got a memory card, and then you've got to consider yourself when you're out in the field, even if you're shooting in a studio, if you're shooting outside with natural light, what's your ISO ranges? What's the range? What have you got in the new camera? Have you gone from a 100 to 1600 ISO? Have you gone from 100 to 250, 600 ISO? Where's your ISO go to? And not only that, where does it become noisily unusable? So it's no good saying, oh, I bought this new camera, it's got ISO 15 million. Then you get out in the field and you're using it at, I don't know, 32,000, and you realise it's beyond noise, it's useless. So you need to figure out, you can perhaps do a little bit of research on some of the forums to see where people say it's bottoming it out, or you could just do a test shoot around the house in low light. Most houses have pretty low light out the window, just use the room light. See where your noise starts to come in to give yourself a better idea of where your limits are. Even though your camera might go up to 128,000 ISO, 256, it doesn't mean the images are usable there. So figure out your ISO. I mean, as a base, we should all be starting at 100 and use an aperture and shutter to get the light in, but where you can't, ISO is a great gift from the technician gods to allow us to boost that up to get recognisable light, but it comes with the downside of creating noise. There you go. So figure that out. You're then going to depend on your lens as well, what lens you got with it, whether it's a kit lens, whether it's a pro level lens, whether it's a fast lens or a slow lens, whether it's a zoom or a fixed. All those kind of things will enable you to figure out the camera and lens combinations. limits pretty quickly. And again, you can do a simple test against a wall. Brick walls are good for this. Try and find where your sweet spot on your lenses. I find f11 is the sharpest, most usable point on most lenses I've ever used. It might be slightly different depending on camera manufacturer, lens manufacturer, but I found f11 is a nice sweet spot to make sure everything in the frame is kind of usable, providing you're in focus. So again, you can test that against brick walls, good. Anywhere where there's a good bit of contrast, corners, overlaps, that kind of thing. And then again, depending on your use, you're looking at your shutter speed. If you're thinking, well, I'm going to, I don't know, Cadwell Park, I'm going to photograph some car racing that's on New Year's Day. What's your fastest shutter speed you've got? Can you go 1/8,000th of a second? Is it 1/4,000th? What is the range that you've got? What's your lowest range? Can you do 30 seconds and then bulb? Does it stop at 10 seconds? What's the range? So again, just quickly figuring out the range of possibilities in your shutter, log it in your brain. And then finally, you want to do loads of landscape stuff, you want to get lots of stuff moving, you want to get some motion blur. Great. Did you buy a tripod with that camera? Did anybody have the foresight to go, let's get him a tripod? Because you'll soon find out handheld, leaning on a car, balancing on things, it doesn't quite work like that. So they're the basics, kind of straight off the bat. Read the manual, understand understand the camera's quirks, understand the things you really want to use a lot, learn where the things aren't that you might not use now, but you might use sometimes. We can dig into some real intricacies here, but really what I'm wanting to get into today is just a reminder for newbies and for those coming to DSLR or SLR, or mirrorless, or those who are coming back into it, or even those that just need a refresher. There are 1,000,001 things cameras can do now, from everything from, they can almost just about wipe your arse for you, and one of the biggest things you'll find now, because I see it in all the forums, if you're reading forums, stop, for the most part, stop. You can get auto focus, as in AI focus, facial recognition focus, and we might do a session on that at some point, but for today, I'm just going to say don't do that. Train yourself to focus what you want to focus on. So whether you're using center point, whether you're using more than that, I tend to go with center point, focus and reframe, because that's just how I've shot. But whatever mode you're using, make sure you know it's in focus, because maybe 7, 8 times out of 10 the camera will do a decent job on facial recognition or animal recognition. Although when I tried my camera out on animals, I photographed my dogs in the back garden, and more often than not it picked up the dog's arseholes, not the dog's faces. So it ain't that clever. But I think in terms of you being confident that the picture you've taken is going to be sharp and in focus, do it yourself, and don't rely on as little automation as you can. Because 2 things happen there. 1, you're kind of sure it's in focus, or you're sure it's exposed well, and 2, you learned something, didn't you? If you're always relying on automation in any walk of life, what did you learn? Other than the camera's better at it than you. I don't want to be that kind of photographer. I hope you guys don't want to be that kind of photographer either. So try to ignore a lot of that. The only kind of auto I ever really use on a camera is focus, and that's really because my eyes are dog shit. My eyes are, I have very focals. I can't see close up well. I can't see far away that well. I wouldn't trust my own eyes to make sure something's in focus, so I trust the camera, but I still use the auto in a semi-auto mode. I choose the selection spot. It takes a shot of that. I don't use the facial, any of that stuff. Because I tried it, don't trust it. So you kind of almost, if you're understanding that and you know where those things are, you're just about ready to jump in your car, on your bike, on the bus, and go and do something a little bit more kind of exciting than sitting in your house, pointing at the telly and at the windowsill and at the kids and at the dog. Because you will soon kind of get fed up of that. I think as soon as you can, you need to understand the function of your camera enough that you can go past the back garden or the front garden or your street. And one of the things I've done in previous incarnations, not so much at Christmas and New Year, because I don't think I've ever got a new camera. I tend to buy my things as I want them. So not last April, the April no, not last February, the February before, February 2024, I got the R6 and me and Kirsty went for a walk around our village, couple of 3 miles walk. So I got to photograph front gardens, back gardens, telegraph poles, bus stops, cars, people, dogs, cats, quirky things that have been dumped, open fields, trees, skies. That's what I did to break that camera in to find out its quirks. And even though I did that, I've still a couple of times over the intervening couple of years gone to use a function I've not used for a bit and forgot what it is. So the importance of understanding your camera is something I have to remind myself quite often. And like I said, you can't always be in a position where you've got a great signal on your phone and you can just go, search engine, where the hell is this button for this camera? Oh, there it is. The better you can understand your kit, the better pictures you will get, because you are focused on understanding the subject you're looking at. You're not fumbling around trying to find something and the picture's gone. Because that is the biggest frustration, I think, for photographers. We plumb ourselves into the going out, going to get some pictures, see it, and when you don't get it, it's so frustrating. And if you don't get it because you've pissballed about trying to find a setting, you'll blame the camera, you'll come home disheartened, you'll stick it on MBP, and you'll think, sod it, I might lose a few £100, or my wife might, but I don't care, it's fucking rubbish, this camera, when probably it's you. So we'll just do a little bit more about lenses. So that's your camera body, that's the thing that you're going to hold. And again, quickly, I mean, I like to shoot through the viewfinder. I don't like to shoot through the LCD. I hate it when I have to do it on my phone. I like to get in there and get a look at the shot and frame it up. It kind of frustrates me when I see digital photographers with their DSLRs either on live mode or their mirrorless cameras in live mode, and it just doesn't wash for me. Movies, yeah. Stills, no. Get in that viewfinder. Get in there. Give it a good look. Square it up. Where's the picture? Where in that is the picture? You go in like this, you've got all these distractions. You can't really tell depth of field. You're a bit guessing. Get in that fucking viewfinder. Get right in it. Get your eyeball right in it, or your glasses right up to it. Get stuck into it and figure it out. You will compose better pictures. Some things are just too raw for the podcast, too honest for YouTube, and too controversial for Spotify. That's why I started the lock-in. The lock-in is my weekly email where all the filters are completely taken off. Every week I share my ideas, my brain farts, my thoughts on photography, education and reality. No algorithms, no polish, just the truth straight to your inbox. If you like the Lance Burkitt encounter, you're going to love the lock-in. Let's get into it. Lenses. I talked a little bit previously about sharpness, where your sweet spot is, but what you can do when you're out and about is going to depend on what focal range you've got and how fast or slow your lens is. And by fast, I mean, do you have a 1.8, 2.8 wide open aperture, or do you have a standard 3.5, 3.6, 4.5, not quite as fast, not quite as wide aperture? Because all those things can come into play, particularly this time of year when, even though when it's bright outside, it can be quite dull, if that makes sense. In your camera, you've figured out the limitations of the body. ISO capabilities, shutter capabilities. Yeah. You're now going to take a good look at the lens you're going to be using predominantly. And you might be lucky like me, you might have got a mirror lenses, but we don't want to take a camera out for a test shoot and take all of our lenses with us normally, do we? When I got the Canon R6, I had a 24-105 L series 4.5, not very fast, but very sharp and very robust, so I could do wide and I could do close-up. If you've got a prime, for example, a 28mm prime or a 35 prime, 50mm prime, the limitations of that fixture in terms of the zoom or wide shot you can get, but you might find if it's a 1.8 lens or 2.8 lens, you can get a lot more light in, and then you can save the ISO. You don't have to quite use as much ISO, or you don't have to drag the shutter as much to get as much light in. The compromise there, I guess, is how much do you want your shot to be in focus, because if you're going to shoot wide open like that, you're going to get vignette, you're going to get bokeh, you're going to get blur, you're going to get pretty much everything within a few centimetres of your focus being blurred. Side effect of wide aperture. So it depends what you've got, but you need to know that before you get up and go off into wherever you go in to spend your day making great pictures to not be disappointed with. So if you understand that your camera can handle low light, if you know the ISO on your new camera is good up to thousands of ISO without being ultra noisy, then that allows you to perhaps use a lens that's not necessarily as fast, but has a bit more function. So an example might be you've got a 50mm 1.8, which will allow you to get lots of light in, but you're stuck at 50mm. But your new camera can handle ISO off the scale without noise. So that allows you to use your 24-105 zoom, which is only goes down as fast as f4 5.6, but it doesn't matter because your ISO can compensate. So what lens you take with you will depend on what your body can give you. And some people are very fixed in their minds as to how they want their pictures to look. Some people shoot wide, some people zoom, some people in the middle. Some people don't get hung up on noise as much. So all those kind of choices come down to your personal preferences and will fundamentally come to make whatever the final picture is. It won't just be a picture of the sky, for instance. You'll go out and you'll come across stuff. If, like me, you just go for a walk around your local village, you'll come across stuff, you'll come across life, which can be quite interesting. So for me, I bought the R6 and the 24-105 L series lens on purpose because I wanted it for when we went to America, so I could do predominantly street photography and some architecture. It's perfect for that. And also, it's great for my studio as well, for doing fashion and portraits. So that's why I bought that, but I've also got 50mm, 28mm, and some other bits and bobs knocking around in case I need it. But for my walk out with Kirsty, just to walk around the streets, to test the camera, to figure it out, 24-105 was perfect. If you're not so lucky, if you've been able to get the camera, but it's come with a kit lens because you don't have the money yet to buy anything better, same aspect, really. It's just that quite often kit lenses, they're a little softer through the range than what you call pro lenses. So for Canon, the L series, I can never remember what they call them for Sony and the other guys, but the L series pro lenses, which are a lot more expensive, much better build, much better glass. They'll be sharper through the range, but that doesn't stop you from making good pictures with kit lenses. I started with kit lenses. I learned a real good sharpening technique in Photoshop quite early on from the fabulous Guy Gowan. So if you look back through my tutorials on the channel, you can see one's about how to sharpen your pictures in post if you can't afford expensive lenses. It's a good compromise. So let's say you've got a kit lens. Most kit lenses are ridiculous in their focal length. They're normally something like 35-80 or 28-70 or some shit like that. So they're a bit useless. They're kind of like mid-range. They're all right for learning, shall we say. But you can still see its limitations. You can still see that it's probably going to be f4 5.6. Not very fast, not letting much light in, but if the camera you've bought allows you to compensate with ISO, or conversely, if you've got a in-body image stabilization that can help you drag the shutter a little bit, if you've got a lens that's got image stabilization on it, that can help you a little bit. I've found them sometimes to cause more problems than they solve in terms of IS, so I tend to not use it that much. Mainly because you focus and they'll still search a little bit, and sometimes that can make them a bit wonky, so I tend not to use them. Again, me winding it back and doing as much manually as I can without over-reliance on help from the kit, because it doesn't always work out how you think it is. And there's nothing worse than relying on the kit and then coming back and saying, fucking hell, I know that function does that, why did I do it? Because I have done that. So your lens can be a friend or it can be enemy, but you have to learn to work with it. And there's nothing wrong with a kit lens if that's all you've got. Work with what you've got. Find the boundaries of what you've got. And see, again, what I mentioned in the earlier segment about using a wall or something with contrast to figure out where it's at its sharpest and try and use that range. So it might be, if you've got a 35-80, 50mm might be the sharpest at f11. If you can shoot everything at that, do it. If it's, I don't know, it's 35mm at f8, whatever it is, spend a little bit of time around your house, around your bedroom, on the back wall, whatever it is, just trying to see. And don't try and gauge it on the back of your camera. Take your memory card out, stick it in your laptop or your computer and have a look at it big. See where the sharpest bits are. Write it down, keep that note with you. Put a note on your phone, keep it with you. Remind yourself of the sweet spot. I'm not saying don't shoot anything outside of that sweet spot. I'm just saying if you want to come back with really, really sharp, well-focused images, consider your sweet spots. And another thing to consider with lenses is whether you're in a studio and you've got modelling lamps on, illuminating the models, it's not always enough light for your lens, particularly kit lenses, to find the model. So you'll find it searching, and by searching I mean you'll be pressing your shutter down halfway trying to focus, and you'll hear your lens going because it can't find focus because it isn't on the light on your subject. That can happen outside, particularly where you've got high contrast or areas of dense, murky shadows. You'll find that your lens might struggle to focus. A little tip I've found for that is if you've got a really good, decent torch or searchlight, as we call them in the States, flashlight, the good LED ones now you get for about 20 quid on Amazon. Take that with you, make sure it's fully charged. Point it at what you're trying to focus on. So if you're trying to do a night shot against some trees but you can't find focus, illuminate the trees with a torch, get focus, turn the torch off, take the shot. Little tips like that. It could be that you're going out in the middle of the day and it's a bit overcast, it's not that bright. You're seeing something nice that you want to photograph but you can't find focus because the bloody cheap lens won't find it. Shine the torch at it, get focus, take the shot. If you've got a partner with you, like I'm lucky enough to have, ask them to do it for you. Shine that for me. I'll just make sure you move it out of the way before you get the shot. Or, conversely, use it as an effect if you like. But don't be surprised if you've got low light on your kit lens, or sometimes even the pro lens struggles to find focus because of the lack of light. And you can put your focus assist beam on if you want. It gets on my nerves. I have mine turned off mostly. But you can, that does help a little bit. But again, that can be really hit and miss and not very conducive to quick thinking shooting, seeing it, shoot it. If you've got a torch and you've seen something, flick it on, line it up, take the shot, switch the torch off, take the shot, or just flick the torch off the scene. So, and I know this because although I'm lucky enough now to have really good quality pro kit, for the first 5 or 7 years of my career, I had to buy second-hand used kit stuff, which was not great, but I learned how to squeeze the absolute balls out of everything I ever owned. Buying lenses from markets because they might have been 15, 20 quid instead of 100 quid online. People don't know what they're selling, so you see it. So you buy a cheap, there's one on the shelf of them, I'm looking at it, I can't see it. Can't get it on seeing, but a cheap 28-105 Canon Sigma lens. Pretty soft, but did the trick for some years with my Photoshop editing capabilities. So don't feel like this is kind of like a snubber way of saying you can only get good pictures if you have good kit. That's bollocks. If I look around here, at least probably a quarter of those headshots and the stuff you can see around there were taken with kit lenses, and use the process in Photoshop to sharpen them to a point where they were acceptable, where they didn't look like they were on. A kit lens, and like I said, if you trail back through my tutorial section, you can see how I did that using various few techniques. We've looked at the body, we know what our body can do, we've got our lens, we know our lens's capabilities. What are you going to do now? We're going to go out and shoot. So we'll cover some shooting in this section. The thing about going out to shoot is you really want to further test your camera and your lens at those nth degrees. So you fully understand the capabilities of those, but also, I guess, to test yourself, push your knowledge of photography and make it so you're not what some people might say is a one-trick pony or a one-style wonder. You're looking to get past that. You're looking to try and get to a point where instinctively you can point the camera at anything and get the best out of the kit you've got. And that allows you, as a photographer, to to just worry. It allows you as a photographer to just worry about the subject, because you know the limitations of your kit, whether it's expensive, whether it's kit, low end, if you like, or whether it's somewhere in between, because obviously you can get in between. So in 2017, I think 2016 actually, I bought I bought a Sony a6400 just to kind of tease myself into the, tease myself into the world of mirrorless. Before I went and spent thousands of pounds, I first spent £500-600 on a mirrorless. And the reason I did that is because I've been to a photography show in Liverpool, and I'd had a go on the then Hasselblad, can't remember which model it was, but it was a Hasselblad. And even then, 2017, I thought, looking through the viewfinder, I thought, my God, this looks beyond ropey. The video image through the viewfinder was like, can't do it. So I had a conversation with a friend and decided actually maybe I was being a bit too harsh, because Hasselblads are great. I've used film Hasselblads for years. So I thought I'd go and buy one and use it and see actually how I get on with it. And so I bought this Sony ILCE 6000 it was, with a kit lens, just to try to get my brain used to working with mirrorless. And I kind of liked it quite straight away, because it meant I could take a camera away with us, with me and Kirsty, and get 24 meg resolution images without having to carry a big DSLR around with me at the time, and it fitted in my coat pocket, so that was a bit of a bonus. But it did have its limitations, and by limitations I mean like this image, for example, now in front of us, shot in my back garden, just testing its capabilities. And those of you that follow me and follow the channel, you'll know that I like to shoot with contrast. One of my favourite things to do is shoot contrast. So I always go with whenever I'm doing skyscapes, I always go with the low horizon in shadow, as you can see here. And this is straight off the raw file. This isn't edited. This is kind of how it is. And it's not bad, actually, until you view it at 100%. And then you can kind of see it's quite soft. And if we look at the file info on it, we can see 200th of a sec, f8, ISO 3200. Now, even in low light, which is what this is because it's kind of sunset, those limits aren't really pushed. 200th of a sec is pretty fast. f8 is pretty close to a sweet spot. ISO 3200. In terms of noise on the R6, which I use predominantly now, it's nothing like that amount of noise. And although this camera is now 8 years old, it would require a little bit of work to bring that up to the kind of scratch which I get straight off the camera now. So, but at the time, it wasn't bad. It was, it was probably acceptable with a little bit of noise reduction in the raw file and a little bit of tweaking of some of the shadows and highlights. We could soon probably get that up to some kind of nice, usable image. But again, because I instinctively, I guess is the right phrase, knew the camera's kind of immediate limitations, I was quite pleased with that. I didn't expect it to give me the same instant results as the DSLR would have done. But it was okay. It gave usable images, and I used it more, I think, in the end for street photographs, because it was handy, it was portable, it was quick. Battery life wasn't great. Two batteries I always had to keep with me. I go through 2 batteries a day shooting maybe 400 street photos, so the battery life on it wasn't great. But again, like I said, if you're testing that out to see what the limitations are of a camera, if you come prepared, if you've got plenty of battery power, you shouldn't go far too wrong. So I'm just going to find some more pictures from when I've been out just for a walk around. So again, here's one. In 2020, I took my then car in for an MOT, our local MOT station, and I was walking around our town centre. And at that point, it was at the beginning. It was just before the pandemic and the bullshit that came with that, and it was just before Rotherham was starting to do its regeneration. And this is where an old Tesco's used to be, and this is a footbridge across the River Don. And it makes for an interesting picture here, I think, with that same camera. But Rotherham's a pretty grim town, and if we look at the colour version of that, it's not a bad picture. It's on manual. Again, shall we have a look at what the settings were for that? Let's have a look. It's 5 years ago. I can't remember yesterday, so I wouldn't want to guess, but we'll have a look, because this channel's all about truth, isn't it? So, 1/100th of a second, f8, ISO 100, not bad. 1/100th of a second's pretty slow, handheld. I'm quite happy with that. ISO 100 again, f8, so there must have been some light on that day. Let's see what the noise is like when we get up close. Well, the noise is not too bad, actually, all things considered. It's only a little web image. But again, it's a usable picture. It's not a Pulitzer Prize winning picture. But for just walking around town, mooching, checking settings, seeing what's what, it's pretty sharp. It's usable. I'm not going to stick it into any competitions, but it's a usable picture. Again, with the ice. And that's what you should be doing. You should be thinking, right, shall I shoot full manual, shoot auto, shoot aperture priority, shoot shutter priority, try with manual ISO, auto ISO, point at just about anything you can see that's of interest. And you can see just in this camera from me walking around Liverpool, London, our neck of the woods, in the woods here, for example. That's on one of the canons, just testing. Figuring out what the hell this actually might have been me testing the old 60 when I bought a 60 off eBay just to see how good it was. Let's have a look. File info. Oh, it's even the old 70. So I'm out with the old 70 at that point with the EFS lens on. Now the EFS specifically for micro 3/3 cameras to give you the full range of scope. 1/640 of f9, 125. That's a strange setting for me. But again, nice, relatively sharp, good contrast, which is what I like. I go through various tests of myself and my kit just to see how my brain's functioning, how the cameras are working. Do I need to upgrade yet? Am I still happy with what I'm getting? Are things working nicely? So you can see I bought the 6D with an L series lens, which is the L series kit lens, the lower end of the scale, not the L series. And just did a bit of a test in the back garden. It must have been Halloween time, was it? Let's have a look. Is it Halloween or Christmas? Oh, it's Christmas time. So I'm checking it for focus. I'm checking it for ISO capability. I'm checking it for all those things we just discussed before. Shutter, blur, bokeh, all those things. And this is just a reflection in a tub of some Christmas decorations in the window. And this is a Canon 6D, which is probably, well, it's knocking on 10 years old when I bought it for, I don't know where I got it for, 300 quid, something like that. I'm just checking out that it worked and looking what its limitations are in low light. And as you can see here, you know, that's a slight edit's been happened on that. I wonder if I got the raw file on here. Have I got the raw file? I have, yes. Let's have a look, see what I did in the raw. So I've left the colour balancer shot. I've taken some highlights off, so the highlights must have been blown a little bit. I've given a little bit more exposure, brought a bit of whites and brought the shadows right up. So let's just put them all back to where they were and see what we got straight off the cam. So straight off the camera getting that, and it is just a little bit of hidden shadow, really, isn't it? Just that, bringing up that rim back. Push a little bit of the exposure to bring a bit of mid-tones in. Drop the highlights off so we're not blowing anything out. And then what I would normally do then is open it and then just feather the exposure with levels like that. And just bring that back up till I feel that we're just getting there. I mean, we could push right over here like that. That's a bit too gaudy. So maybe 180. And there we are. So, testing out a 6D, a 10-0 6D. I think I might have had the L series lens on this, actually, if I think about it. No, I haven't, look. Just a standard. Yes. That's not bad at all. Not bad at all. And no sharpening gone on in that at all, just as it was. So, just scooting around, taking pictures of things, making sure you understand the limitations and otherwise of the camera. I don't have the R6 ones on here. They're on hard drive, so I can't share them today, although you will have seen some of them in previous podcasts. But again, this is the old 6000, the Sony A6000, just in the back garden. And again, I use this for a little bit of astrophotography, so this has been on my telescope at some point, and in changing the lens and stuff, I've developed some dust spots. So just something else for you to think about when you're taking pictures. If you're changing your lenses interchangeably during the day, during the shoot, keep an eye out for dust. If you're not sure when you open a picture, just put a contrast layer in and just drop the contrast, and just to see, they'll show up particularly against grey and blue. Anything that's clean, you'll see them. And if you get them, just brush them out with a coloring tool or with a healing tool, whatever, because they're really obvious. Once you post them online, they'll come through in the shitty web browsers with all the compression. You'll see that a mile off. So just make sure you're not giving it away by, don't make it look like you don't know what you're doing by leaving dust spots on. So I wish I had a few more on this machine to show, but I don't. I haven't brought my hard drive, so I can't show anymore. But you understand what I'm saying. Whatever camera you've got, new, old, indifferent, go out and test it to death, test it all the way through the ranges, become familiar with it, get comfortable with what you like to do, but know what to do outside of that instinctively by studying your manual, studying a more in-depth manual online if you have to, and by really, really pushing yourself creatively and not worried about making mistakes. Don't worry about getting shitty pictures, because within that you'll find something that's on the money. And try where you can. It's difficult to take notes and make notes, I know, when you're out and about and you're taking pictures and you're concentrating on that, but try to take some kind of note as to whether you did it a manual, aperture priority, shutter priority, full auto. Try and give yourself a bit of something to grasp to when you're taking your pictures. Don't come back and just assume you did it. If it was an auto, be honest about it, because then you can use that as a foundation for next time you're going to do it. If everything you took was on some kind of manual or some kind of auto, whatever it was, whether it's auto ISO, auto focus, aperture priority, shutter, whatever it was, make notes of it and be honest. That's the only way you can learn. If you do your best stuff when you're in full auto, great. How can you use that to become manually involved and control it even more? If you're already doing things in full manual, you might just be using a bit of ISO to stop you switching it between shots every time. That's fine. I do that quite a lot. But make notes, be honest with yourself, and reflect. Don't come back. Don't sit and look at your pictures and not know what you did. That's not a good place to be. It might sound quite counterintuitive. You might think, what are you talking about? But trust me when I say, when you get back after your half-day shoot, your couple of hours shoot, whatever it is you've been doing, your new camera, get back in, put it back in the box, and don't look at the pictures. Just leave it for a day. You'll be excited. You want to get back. You want to see what you've shot. You've probably looked them on the viewfinder and they've all looked shit up. That's a big mistake. Put it to bed. Don't transfer any to your phone. Don't do anything with them. Maybe you can stick your memory card in your computer and back them up to a folder, but don't look at them. Just do not look at them. Trust me. Why do I say that? You've been at it all day, you've been thinking about it all day, you've become snowblind to it, you're like, you will think everything you've taken is either really good or really shit. And the truth is, you'll be wrong on both counts. You need to put some space between what you've just done and viewing it to allow your brain to withdraw from that intensity of seeing it already, of being involved with it already. You'll have preconceived ideas about which ones you think are your best. You'll get back, you'll look at them straight away, and you'll be fucking disappointed, trust me. So just do not review anything at all. If you must, get them off your memory card onto your computer, your hard drive, save and do that, but don't look at them. Do that, put it down for the day. Go to bed, take your wife out for a meal as a thanks, give her the platinum card and tell her to get on Amazon, whatever it is you do. But please don't look at the images that day. Go to bed, get a good night's sleep if you can. Get up the next day or the next opportune time you can and look at them with fresh eyes and a fresh brain. And only then will you see them in their real light. You'll see them like one of your viewers, potential client, somebody who's looking at your website, somebody who's looked at your portfolio will see them for the first time. If you look at them on the same day, you'll just see them as a big pile of steaming shit. Trust me. So you can look at the next day and you can sift through them. You can pick out your favourite ones. Maybe if you've took, I work on a 10% hit rate. So for every 100 pictures, I'm looking for 10 good ones. That's a percentage that works for me. That might not work for you. You might want more, you might want less, but that's what works for me. 10%. Sift them out, do an edit, put them in a folder, have an hour off, have some dinner, come back, look at them again. Always fresh eyes, always fresh eyes. And always look at them as big as you can. So if I'm doing on this laptop, 17-inch, I'll view them at full screen. Don't view them like that. Don't resize them, don't do anything. View them as big as you can. In as big a raw format as you can start with, so you can really, really look at the detail. So you can see where the contrast is, you can see where the edges are, you can see where the focus is, you can see how sharp it is. View it at 100%. If they're not as sharp as you expect, what did you do wrong? Check your settings, check your notes. That's how you learn. You're not really even looking for things like, do I like this picture? What you're looking for is, did the camera lens give me what I thought? If the answer is yes, great, make a note of what it was. If the answer is no, look at your notes and go, right, what can I do better next time? Because it's all about learning. The idea of this is for you to get used to your new bit of kit, not just assuming you know it, getting really used to it, figuring it out and doing some shoots that aren't costing you anything, that don't matter if it all goes to shit, until you get to the point where it really does matter, either for a client or just for you, for the love of doing it. If you feel like you've made a really good shot and it comes back and it's crap because you didn't do any extensive testing, you're just an idiot, aren't you? All right, so you're looking for things like exposure differences. Are the highlights blown? Are the shadows dirty? Are the dark bits dirty? Is it noisy as hell? What's my depth of field like? What's my focus like? Have I dragged the shutter too much? Have I gone too fast? All those things. And if you do this, maybe, if you can, a handful of times before you're going to do a proper shoot, if you like, when you come to the proper shoot, you will make such better content. You'll be so much more comfortable. You'll immediately know what's good, bad and ugly about your camera, what your limitations are, what you need to learn as a photographer, what you can do next in terms of filters, lenses, other modifiers to your work. But you can't do any of that until you know the thing in your hand. And you can't just assume that the new camera you've got is going to give you the exact same thing as your old camera. Because it won't. Because quite often a new camera means worse pictures until you figure out what your camera's doing, hence for this tutorial today. So that's really kind of what I wanted to say today. Congratulations on getting your new camera. I'm really pleased for you. But please don't go out and use it without understanding it, because you will come home disappointed and it will be on MVP or eBay or somewhere. You'll be blaming it when really it's your own stupid fault for not doing all what I've just said. Those 5 things. Learn your camera. Learn your lens, go out and use it, review and reflect in the correct way, put some space between you and your work, play the long game. Don't think that just because you've got a new camera, your images are going to be really, really brilliant. Don't think because you're a newbie to it and you bought your first camera that because your pictures you've taken today are crap and you're always going to be crap. We all start somewhere. And you need to think about these things, whether you're a beginner, whether you're a moderate, or whether you're a pro. These things all matter to the quality of output. And I've said it before. I said it on a podcast last year, one that's called All the Gear No Idea, where I used to get guys with more money than sense come to the studio with all the kit and take the worst pictures you've ever seen. Worst. Because they thought the camera did all the work. Well, it does, but a camera's fundamentally blind. It can only see what you tell it to see. And if you're not telling it to see the right things, then you'll never get the right picture. So that's it from me for this New Year episode. I was nice to be back, talk to you all. There'll be another one in a week or two, hopefully. Don't know the subject yet because I haven't really thought about what we're going to do, but there's lots of interesting stuff going off. We'll get to that when we get to that. In the meantime, have a fantastic new year. Enjoy your new kit. Enjoy your old kit if you didn't get any new stuff. Get out there and shoot, because practice does make perfect. You won't get any better sitting at home reading internet forums and hitting the table in frustration because you can't afford that bit of kit. It's not about that. It's about using what you've got, getting out there and applying it. All right? Have a great year. I'll catch you all on the flip side. Cheers. Thanks for tuning into the Lance Burkitt Encounter today. I really do appreciate you spending some time with me here in the world of photography, education and reality. If you enjoyed the episode and feel like you learned a bit of something, do me a favour, like, subscribe and share the channel with somebody you feel really needs to hear it. And if you're able to, and if you'd like to, please head over to lanceburkitt.com/shop and treat yourself to some of the Lance Burkitt Encounter merchandise. After all, that's how we're going to keep the channel and the podcast alive and completely independent. Until next time, keep shooting with purpose and stay true to yourselves. Cheers.
You won't believe, yeah, I can't get you out my life.